Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aubrey Taylor, and I am the Master of Social Work student interning with Cameron County Mental Health Task Force. Today I am going to be presenting a mental health topic, and it's called Managing Thoughts to Improve Emotional Well-Being. And I'm also supervised by Diana Zamora. She is a licensed clinical social worker supervisor. And so, just a little bit about me. I am in the middle of my Master of Social Work program. I will be starting my advanced classes in the fall, and so I'm really excited. I currently reside in San Antonio, Texas, and I'm a mother, which is why I am so passionate about talking about motherhood and maternal mental health. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. And I'm also a special education teacher. And so I have a lot of experience in the field of education. So before we get started, I do want to talk about a few things. The mission statement of the Cameron County Mental Health Task Force is to enhance community awareness, dedication, and resources to address behavioral requirements of Texas residents. And so what I love about this organization is the fact that we get to collaborate with different professionals and different organizations to get the word out about different mental health topics. And so the purpose of these maternal mental health sessions is to provide a safe space, a supportive space to talk about maternal mental health and help you build tools for your well-being. I do want to share this confidentiality statement with you, because this is a space where you're not only going to be educated, but you're welcome to share your experiences. And so I want you to know that whatever you do share here, it does stay here with one exception. If I learn that someone may harm themselves or others, I'm required to take action to ensure safety. Other than that, this is a private space, it is a respectful space, but know that your safety is my top priority. So, welcome back to the Maternal Mental Health series. Today, we're going to explore how our thoughts impact how we feel and how we act, and how learning to challenge those thoughts using cognitive behavioral therapy can help us feel more in control of our emotions. Research shows that cognitive behavioral therapy is effective in helping expectant and new mothers manage anxiety, depression, and emotional dysregulation. Um, I think the transition into motherhood and jumping into motherhood is definitely different. And so I think having tools readily available for you is so helpful, especially if you don't have a lot of support. So, we are going to begin talking about how thoughts influence our emotions and our behaviors. That is exactly what cognitive behavioral therapy is. It helps us identify our thoughts because our thoughts are what influence our emotions. Um, and then overall, our emotions are what affects our behaviors. And so that is, the three most important parts in the cognitive behavioral triangle. A lot of the thoughts that can kind of keep us in these cycles are known as thought distortions. So it could be catastrophizing. This is the type of thought that can make you think that a disaster is happening. There can be what is known as black and white thinking, where you're either seeing things one way or the other. There's like no in between. There's also mind reading. when it comes to thoughts. So this could be maybe you expecting somebody to read your mind, or you maybe thinking that you have the ability to read others' minds. And so all of these thoughts are the types of thoughts that can keep us in these negative patterns, in these negative cycles, and that can have a negative effects on our emotions and our behaviors. And so we call these thoughts automatic or negative thoughts. So there's usually what we call a triggering event or activating event that kind of puts us in these cycles. And so it is so important to understand where our thoughts come from, so that we can help challenge those thoughts, and challenge them more effectively. So let's talk about reframing negative self-talk. Um, so have you ever, as mothers, I'm sure you have, but have you ever had a situation where you had a something happened, maybe your baby was fussing, maybe the day just wasn't going right, and you're automatically feeling anxious, overwhelmed, and you're overthinking the situation? Well, I just want you to know that cognitive behavioral therapy is a tool that can help you in changing the negative self-talk. And so it is so effective when it's adapted to reflect the stressors and the social support needs, which are unique to the perinatal period. So I want you to think about some of these steps to reframe negative thoughts, and then we're going to do an activity next to kind of put this into practice. So there's three main steps when it comes to reframing our thoughts. Uh, Previously, I talked about how there's always that activating event. There's always going to be that triggering event that is going to cause that automatic negative thought. And so, for an example, if our baby is fussing and we can't get them to calm down, which is that triggering event, maybe our automatic thought is, I'm a bad mom because I lost my temper. Okay. And so, when we have that automatic thought, that negative thought, it is important for step two to come into place. It is important to think about, is this thought true? And it is most likely not true. You're not a bad mom. Okay. And so our next thing that we need to ask ourselves is this thought helpful? And oftentimes it is not helpful, because our negative thoughts kind of lead into a cycle of more negative thoughts. And so once you've gotten through step one or two, I want you to think about how you can replace that negative thought with a more compassionate or realistic thought. So instead of saying, I'm a bad mom because I lost my temper, I want you to talk to yourself, take a step back, take a moment to process the situation, your thoughts, your feelings, and maybe come up with something like, I had a moment, I had a tough moment, but I'm human and I'm doing my best. And so I want you to just take some time now that I've kind of shared the steps to help you with your negative self-talk. I want you to take some time to complete this activity, which involves identifying and challenging negative thoughts. And so if you have a second, or if you'd love to join me, grab a journal and go ahead and follow these steps. So I want you to think about or write down a negative recurring thought that you often have. If it is that you're a bad mom, write that down. Or maybe if you feel like that negative thought is, I'm always so anxious, I'm always overwhelmed, go ahead and write that down. I also would like for you to think about what that triggering event or that triggering situation may have been. I think understanding the situation and looking at it from a bigger picture will help you uh, think about your thoughts better as well. Okay. So, number two is ask yourself three different questions. Is this thought true? And the next, is this thought helpful? And lastly, I want you to think about what evidence either supports or contradicts this thought. Okay. So if the evidence supports your negative thought, um, then that's basically letting you know that the thought is true. And oftentimes our negative thoughts are not true. And so you're going to end up coming up with evidence that contradicts it. Okay. And so once you come up with this evidence, I want you to change this thought, reframe this thought into something that is more balanced, into something that is more compassionate, into something that is more powerful, that uplifts you. Um, and this is something that will take time. It's not something that is going to feel comfortable on the first, second, or third try. It's something that you're going to really have to put into practice so that you can begin to see um, a change, a shift in your thinking, in your feeling, and in your behaviors. And so, a takeaway resource that I'd like to give you that is related to the activity that we just completed is a cognitive behavioral therapy thought log worksheet. I want you to use this log throughout the week to build your awareness and strengthen your mental and emotional flexibility. As moms, we are always going. We are going to the point where we end up on autopilot. But it's important to take a moment to breathe and just kind of be present and be aware of your surroundings. And so I hope that you find this thought log worksheet helpful. I'm going to show you an example of what this thought log worksheet looks like. So this is the thought record worksheet. It encompasses five different areas. So there's a column for your situation, the triggering or the activating event. There is a column for your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, and that alternate thought. Okay. And so what I want you to do, and you don't have to do this as soon as the situation happens, because I know that in the midst of something going on, it is hard for us to just kind of stop and write things down. But I think this would be good to do maybe like after you've kind of thought about the situation and after the situation has happened and when you get some time for yourself. So I want you to start with writing down what the situation was. And then I want you to jot down what those automatic negative thoughts were. And then I want you to think about how are you feeling when those thoughts came about and write down what your actions were because of these emotions and these thoughts. And then if you were able to come up with an alternative thought, a more positive and compassionate thought, I want you to write this down. And so try your best to just use this thought log to record your how you're feeling and your cycle of how you're feeling and maybe see if there's a shift in how you're feeling and how you're thinking. And so I want to thank you for showing up today. And I also want to offer an optional support invitation. So I am going to be offering individual support sessions via Zoom. You're welcome to reach me at CameronCountyMentalHealth@gmail.com. Just letting me know maybe when you're available, the days, the times, and add your email so that we can meet individually. It doesn't have to be about cognitive behavioral therapy. It can be about anything related to maternal mental health. And we can work together to maybe find resources or figure out what you need to best support you. And so, lastly, I want to say thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for taking a moment to be educated and just gain tools to best support you. If you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out.